ready to do my accent wall. I have looked at several different ideas online and I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I have an idea of what I'm going to do. And so before I go and I buy the wood and I commit to anything, I kind of want to see it on the wall to make sure I'm going to like it. So to do that, I am just going to tape up my lines with blue tape. Some of the ways, there's a couple ways that you can measure your lines, and I'm going to show you. I'll show you my favorite way, but for those who don't have the necessary tools, simple tape measure and level can help you make your lines. So let me show you how to do that first. Okay, so to start with, I have got my tape, and I have got a tape measure, and I have a marking utensil, and I also have a level. Now, if you don't have a level, then there's a couple ways you can do it. I am going to make mine, I think, to start off, we'll do 18 inches from the baseboard. So I'm going to measure 18 inches up from my baseboard, and I'm going to mark a line. I'm painting my wall black, so I'm just using a dark color so that I can see it really well. But I'm going to mark a line. I'm going to go over. I'm going to mark another line. Now if you don't have a level, you can find just anything laying around that has a straight edge, and you can hold it up and you can make your line, and you can just keep measuring and go down the wall that way. For me, I am going to put my level up where those lines are, and you can see that, I don't know if you can see, but it shows that it's level. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my line all the way across, like so. And then I'm going to go down and I'm going to do it, keep going down the wall. Then I can simply take my tape and I can hold it up to that line and just work my way down that line. Just like so. There you have it. Here's my line. Now, that's what you do if you don't have the right tools. Now let me show you how I'm going to do it and proceed. It is with a DeWalt laser measure, and I'll show you how that works. And this is the laser measure that I have. It is the DeWalt brand, and I super love it for many reasons. But it makes something like this very simple. So it has two ways that it can go. You can go horizontal. You can go vertical. You see that? And it's always level. So it's really, really easy. And so what I do is I just find something that is at the level that I want, something that, like what I'm going to use right now, is this ladder, and I'm going to put it kind of where I want it. And if it's blinking, that means it's not level. So you need to adjust it until it stops blinking, and then you know that you're going to be level. So let's see if we can find, there we go. So you see how it's not blinking anymore? So now I know that I've got a perfectly level line going across. Now I don't have to use my tape measure or anything like that. I can just take my tape and I can line it up with the red line and go all the way down. So that's what I'm going to do. Like I said, I don't have a particular design, so I'm just going to kind of wing it, and we'll see how it turns out. After getting all of my horizontal lines on the wall, I decided to start throwing up different angles. I didn't have a specific plan, so I kind of just wung it. Wung it? Is that a word? Okay, so it's kind of hard to see here, but I'm going to show you how I got my triangle so that it is the same angle on each side. So I have this framing square and it's got this little circle right in the center. So I drew this line right here and I just placed it randomly, but I put that circle over where that line is and then I just let this side fall and hit my baseboard. And I drew my line and then I flipped it over and I did the same thing. I lined up that little circle right there, let it fall, and then I know that I have the exact same angle on each side of my triangle. So that's what I did for that. After a little bit of trial and error and some maneuvering around, I finally settled on this design, which I think I'm really gonna like. I'm crossing my fingers. So the next step is to put our boards up on the wall where the blue tape is. I feel like maybe I did this a little bit out of order. If I were to do it over again, I'd probably go ahead and paint my whole wall black and then do the tape so that I already had a base coat on my wall. But it is what it is. So I went to Home Depot and I got these lath trim pieces, and they're about 11 feet long and they're only 1/4 inch thick. They're about 1.5 inches wide and they're perfect. I feel like they're exactly the same size as the tape that I put up, and it's about 88 cents per linear foot. So each stick cost me roughly $8 to $9. We'll see how many I end up using, but for now, I have already cut and measured my 4 horizontal ones that I'll put up first, and then I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do all my angles and other lines. I did find out where my studs were. That's what these pieces of blue tape are right here. An easy way to find out where your studs are is to find an outlet. Most of the time there is a stud on one side of the outlet, so if you know where that stud is, then you can just measure every 16 inches from there and that'll be where your other studs are. So I did that, and there's going to be a lot of pieces that don't land on a stud, so I will also be using this liquid nails, which is a construction adhesive, and it's going to keep my pieces on the wall. I'm not too worried about it. I don't plan on anchoring anything to this wall or hanging anything off of these trim pieces, so that's not a concern of mine. So I will be putting this in and then going around with my nailer and putting the pieces of trim up. If you don't have a nailer, hammer and nail will work fine. Luckily I do have one, so that it's going to be a huge time saver for me. So let's get started. What I will do is I will just measure the piece, straight on the wall. So I will take a longer piece and I'll line it up and I'll just mark it with a pencil, and that way I know that I'm going to have an accurate cut and that it's going to fit. So that's what I did. One thing I wanted to mention is if you are going to go out and cut multiple pieces at once, which I did to save on some time, is to make sure you measure your pieces. So Like I put a 1 here and I put a 1 here, so I know this piece is gonna go here. I got a 2 and a 2, 3 and a 3, and then I did this one over here. I did a 4. So when you go to make multiple cuts and you bring all your boards in, you don't want to be slapping up the wrong piece in the wrong spot or thinking that you have the wrong measurement. So make sure you number what you're doing, and then you'll never go wrong. Alright, let's see if I can accurately show you how I'm going to do the angled pieces here. So I cut my piece, a piece that I knew was longer than the blue tape, and I'm going to line up the corner over here, and I'm going to line it up with my blue tape just like that. And then I made a line right here where showing the angle that I need to cut, and then down here I did the same thing and lined it up, and I drew a line on each side. Let's see if I can, maybe I can show you. I don't know if you can see that, but I drew a line on each side. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this board out to the chop saw, and I'm just gonna line up the lines and cut that angle, and then I should be able to have an exact fit. Alright, let's see if we can show you how I did this. So these are the 2 lines that I made inside on the wall. So now I'm going to lay that down. Okay, so I moved my saw. So basically it would line up with those 2 lines, and that's where I'm going to cut to get my angle. Sweet! We are on to our 3rd and last phase of this project. So right now I've got all my boards on the wall. I've nailed them in, they're glued up, they're strong, they're sturdy. Now I am just going to take my spackling, and I am going to go around and I am going to fill all of my nail holes with the spackling. I'm going to fill all the nail holes, and then any seams where my boards are connecting and have been cut to the adjacent boards, I'm going to fill that with spackling. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to go back with my sanding block, and I'm going to sand it down flush, and then we're going to be ready to paint, and that's going to be the funnest part of all. So let's do it. Also, it's probably worth mentioning that if you have a very thick textured wall, then you might want to take a caulking gun and caulk along the seams in the wall so that it's a nice crisp line and you're not going to have drips in your paint. I'm fortunate I have a very, very light orange peel on my wall, and so my boards are actually very flush with the wall, and so I'm not going to worry about caulking those seams. However, something to consider. And 2 coats of paint later, you got this. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Hopefully you feel comfortable to tackle your own project now. Thanks for watching.